Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today on today's Global Day of Parenting. This day is celebrated each year on June the 1st, and it's an opportunity to appreciate parents for our selfless commitment to children and lifelong sacrifice to nurturing this relationship. My name's Jo Mason. Our forum topic today is charting the course. The topic references the Queensland Human Rights Act, which says families are the fundamental unit of society. And today, parents are charting the course towards their inclusion and rights in the child protection system. So welcome. I'd like to welcome Justine Sandy Roma, who's going to perform the Welcome to Country this morning. Welcome, Justine.
Malacha, Maramba, Ninambu. Welcome, everybody. I'm Justine Sandy Roma. I'm a proud Nunako Yagra Durambo Baracha woman. Here today, you stand on Yagra country. I'm a descendant of Bill and Billin, a great-great-grandfather. Today I'd like to acknowledge my grandmothers, Marilyn and Pearl Sandy, and my ancestors, past and present. Today, I'd like to that you gather on their land. Welcome everybody, Malacha, Maramba, Yutang, thanks, Yue. Bye.
Thank you so much, Justine. Thank you. So I'd also like to pay my respects to the custodians of the land on which we stand today and to elders past, present and emerging. And also acknowledge the parents that are here in the room, those that are joining us, and parents everywhere. We know it's an incredibly challenging role. We know it's an incredibly rewarding role. So it's great that we're all here together to acknowledge parents. Before we move to our first speaker, I'd like to ask some questions to find out who's here today. To do that, we'll be using web-based interactive platform called Slido. You can find Slido by scanning the QR code that you'll find on your table on the screen that you're looking at if you're joining us online. Or you can Google Slido, that's S-L-I-D-O. In a blue banner at the top of your screen, you'll see joining as a participant. In this box, please enter the code 6347595. So just letting you know, Slido is an anonymous platform, so please note your answers to our poll will appear on the screen for everyone to see. So they are anonymous, but in real time, as you click your answers to the poll, we'll start to see the answers. The system won't ask for your name though. If you prefer not to use the platform and you don't want to be glued to your phone, that's okay, you don't have to do it, but we'd love to hear your input if you'd like to share it. As I said, to those in the room, there's a paper response on your tables as well. So let's try our first question today. So to everyone online and in the room, where are you zooming in from? Where have you travelled from today? And please include the First Nations or the colonial place name. We'd love to know where everybody is today. Great to see them coming through. Thank you. Gosh, we've got a wide range of people joining from lots of different places. So we've got Brisbane, Meanjin, we've got Townsville, we've got lots of places from around the state. Fantastic. That's amazing. Thank you, guys. What a broad audience. We're also interested to know what role everybody plays that's coming today. We know that people come from a range of different backgrounds. They're here for a range of different reasons. So the next question is, are you attending as a parent experiencing the system, a paid worker in the system, a carer, or someone else that's interested. So we've got a wide cross-section of people here today. There's lots of people who are here with, who's a parent with lived experience of the system. We've got some paid workers. We've got other people that are interested. And we've also got somebody that's a child of a person who has lived experience of the system. So what a wide audience we have today to share inputs and their stories, and also to be here to hear more about the Charter that we're going to be talking about later today. So thank you everyone for participating. So we're using this tool to stimulate conversation, to have as much discussion as we can as a group, to make sure that we're all engaged and we all have a chance to input on this historic and empowering day for parents in Queensland. It's also complex, so having information from everyone is really valuable so we can build that picture. I'd now like to introduce Karen Walsh, the CEO of MICA Projects. And MICA Projects includes the Family Inclusion Network of South East Queensland. Karen.
We're all staying at our seats, so that's good. I'm quite comfortable here. I'd like to just acknowledge the Indigenous elders, past, present and emerging, and the Indigenous people in the room, the leaders from parents, but also acknowledge just the Bringing Them Home report, which is part of Reconciliation Week, which really changed the way this nation saw the removal of children and Indigenous children from their families and culture. And it's sort of a fitting part of why we're here in looking at a charter for parents, or celebrating that we now have a draft charter for parents. I'd also like to welcome the Minister, Leanne. It's been like passing the baton, and we're really glad you're here today as the person who is able to receive and launch and acknowledge this charter. We acknowledge the parents on the Queensland Parents Advisory Committee, the inaugural members of Auntie Sifa, Crystal, Leah, Lila, Sloane, and the alumni Bobby, Dee and Maddie. Their contribution has been amazing in getting us to today. And we acknowledge the partners, of course. We want to acknowledge the Family Inclusion Network in Townsville, President Bobby Robinson, who's here, but also members in Townsville that are online. You're very welcome. And acknowledge the many parents over the years who are not here to see this in fruition, but have contributed and advocated to be visible in the child protection system. We acknowledge Scott McDougall from the Queensland Human Rights Commissioner. Thanks, Scott, for coming. And Kate Connors, Amanda Curry and Julianne Cork from the department, with an apology from Deidre Mulcairn, who sends her apologies as she had a long-standing previous commitment. Additionally, people who have been partners in developing this charter, Sandra and Mary, Tracy, we wouldn't be here without your input and commitment to meeting with us over the last year or so. And we acknowledge, of course, the funding that we receive from the Queensland Government. I've been asked just to give a brief history of why we're here, but I always like to start with the Global Parent Day, because it's such a significant day internationally, and Australia signs up to the Global Parent Day. And it's a day that connects all of us across the world with recognition of parents and their contribution they make to the world. And for us today, that's the recognition of parents as stakeholders of a child protection system, but most importantly, as stakeholder in the lives of your children. It's recognition that parent involvement is so critical to the development and well-being of children. We've had people across the world who have joined us in getting here too, which I'd like to acknowledge. The Parent Advisory Network that there is internationally. and thank them for their contribution in spurring us along at different times. But the theme this year is like family awareness is being conscious of one's own and one's family emotional and physical well-being. It's being able to track and discuss one's mental health and physical health with one's family members, as well as being there for one another and assisting one another through tough times is incredibly vital to humans everywhere. And that is something that I thought was so fitting for us here today in recognising the Charter of Rights that we've arrived at for Queensland. It's a theme that says family awareness and connection to each other is so much part of our humanity. But for the Family Inclusion Network, it's been well over 20 years that there's been a movement across Australia and in Queensland, in Townsville and Brisbane, where there's been wanting to make visible parents in the documentation, the values and the principles of the child protection system, but also more broadly, all the systems that impact on how parents can have the ability to nurture and protect their children. And we know that that is access to health services, housing, cultural services, cultural activities and family, that, you can't isolate any one thing really in our society that doesn't impact on the ability to be a parent. So today it's really, an accumulation of all those years of discussion and people talking together and passing it on to the next group of people. Rather than seeing parents as the enemy, it's to make parents visible as having insight into the lives of their children and insight into their own lives. And this means recognition of both the human rights of children and the human rights of parents. There have been many calls and attempts to get a charter over the years, and we're really excited that we are here today and have reached this milestone, because it really articulates in so many ways the vital role that parents have to children's well-being and development. And I think it also is a step to a vision of a child protection system that really focuses on all the things that are outlined in the Charter of fairness, the rights of parents and family, the value of parents. So Queensland's only the second state. Western Australia has a parent charter, and now we are the second state of going through the next phase of getting this charter out there and being available to parents. So today we thought it was fitting to have yellow roses, which are a sign of friendship, but which really is partnership in our context, of optimism. They were also very symbolic in a woman's right to vote. So we thought they play a role for men as well in your rights in the child protection space, but more importantly, your rights as parents to your children. So we honour the parents that are here and the parents and the partners that we've had to shape the world, and that includes our world in Queensland, in the development of this charter today, and really look forward to the ongoing conversations. I'd like to hand it over to the Minister to say a few words from her perspective.
Thank you so much, Karen, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you this morning. And can I also start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet this morning, the First Australians, whose lands, winds and waters we all now share. And I'd like to pay tribute to their unique values and their ancient and enduring cultures which deepen and enrich the lives of our community. And I'd like to acknowledge those elders in the room here today, and thank you for being here. I'd also like to acknowledge you, Karen, of course, CEO of Micah Projects. I'd like to acknowledge Scott. It's lovely to have you here, Scott. Also, those who are here from my department, Kate, Julianne, Amanda, and invited guests, and lastly, but most importantly, parents who are in the room, because this is about you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. I was reflecting as I flew back from Bundaberg yesterday in preparation for this event, the journey, and Karen, you spoke of the journey, and I've been on the journey with you all for 18 months, but of course the journey has been much, much longer than that, and it was almost exactly 4 years ago on the United Nations Global Day of Parents in 2018 that I know my predecessor, Minister Di Farmer, stood in this room and committed to delivering a Queensland Parents Forum. And it was exactly 3 years ago that my department and the Family Inclusion Network brought together parents from across Queensland to be part of the first Parents Engagement Forum, and an outcome of that forum was the Queensland Parents Advisory Council we all now know, and that was an Australian first. And when I was first appointed as Minister, the previous Minister, Di Farmer, is, it's no secret, is a very dear friend of mine. And when we did a handover of the portfolio, this was one of the topics that we talked about. And she talked about how really hard fought for and how, hard won that was. And Karen, you talked about 20 years. I haven't gone back that far. I've just gone back to 2018. But they really do limit my time speaking. So, to be fair, I've just gone back a few years. But, she spoke to me about how important that those milestones had been and how desperate parents had been to have a formal voice in the process and in the system. And I can't underestimate, Karen, just how important it is to bring the voices together to really empower and to speak with one cohesive voice. And there's been a lot of work behind that, bringing parents together to do that. And I just want to acknowledge the work and the effort and the emotions that have gone into the whole process of that body, QPAC and Finn, and really honour the parents who have been a part of that. And I'll never forget the first time I attended my first meeting and I looked at your faces and I could just see the hope, but also almost the fear that a new minister coming in wouldn't get it. And I was like, why do they look so frightened of me? No one's frightened of me. My own kids aren't frightened of me, I can assure you. But then I realised you had fought so hard for it and you were worried a new minister coming in might not get it, is what I assumed. And that I might think there wasn't a place for it. And that was never going to happen, I can assure you, because not only had Di clearly briefed me, but others had clearly briefed me about the work and the journey as well. But of course, since then, we have seen marked progress as my department, and I want to acknowledge they have come to the table so willing and passionate and desirous of making this happen. I can only speak about the last 18 months, but when we talk about it, we're all on the same page. They get it. They get how important this is, and I'm sure that you have not felt that that's always been the case, and I acknowledge that too. But to work hand in hand together. And I'm really delighted to join you in celebrating the United Nations Global Day of Parents, not only as the Minister for Children, but as a parent myself. I know how difficult it is, and I think that parents are really deserving of having a day, or every day, frankly, I think, to acknowledge how difficult it is, but also what an incredible blessing it is. And how you are the very best advocates for your children always. We fight hard for our kids. But this event recognises the fundamental role parents play in their children's lives, and it's a day to recognise the vital role that families play in our communities, across Queensland, Australia, across the world. But it's also an opportunity for us to celebrate the hard work of parents on the Queensland Parents Advisory Committee, known as QPAC, and of course Finn. And over the past 6 months, Finn and QPAC have worked in partnership with other parents and my government to draft a very important piece of work, and one that I'm honoured to be launching with you today, one that will ensure parents are included in shaping our child protection system. And today we are taking another important step by delivering something that QPAC has advocated so strongly for, the Parents' Charter, a charter of rights informed by the lived experience of parents. And we know it's a crucial step, and I know from today there'll be lots of questions that will flow about what does it mean, how does it work, what happens when it doesn't work, and that's okay. We'll work through that together. That's how this works, and we'll get it right, and we'll get it wrong, and we'll get it wrong, and we'll get it right again. But the conversation, I think, formally starts when you have something that acknowledges and honours that parents have a voice and should have a voice and rights in the system. And we were talking about it, weren't we, Jenny, when I came in, and I'll never forget it. when I came to another of your meetings, and again you looked at me with these incredibly hopeful faces, and I could see you were prepped. You were prepped to argue your case about why we need a charter. You were going to lock that door and you were not going to let me out until I had acquiesced and said, yes, we'll have a charter. And of course, when you said, well, WA has a charter, and I'm like, great, of course, well, why wouldn't we have a charter? This makes sense. This is not a big thing. And I think you're probably almost deflated because you were ready. You were ready to argue, but it just makes sense. It makes sense. And there are many voices in the child safety system, and I meet with them all the time. I was just with carers up in the regions. I meet with young people in the system. And the department and the services, there are so many voices, and every one of them needs to be honoured, acknowledged and heard. And then the hard work happens about how many of those voices have different views, how we make that work. But always what unites us, parents and the system, is that it is about the children, and it's about what is in the best interests of young Queenslanders. They are the ones that we must always be focused on, and the ones that we seek to get outcomes for. So that's our collective goal, always, and I always come back to that. But I think if we always have some grace for each other when we get it wrong and we keep talking, then the system continues to move forward. So I would like to really honour the parents' voices who brought this together. I was there when you started the process, and you had a lot of butcher's paper out, and I wasn't sure how all that butcher's paper would become one document, but you did it. So well done. Well done to all of you. I'm super proud of you, and when I got the draft of this, I was really, really proud of you and the effort, and to see those 2 signatures is a huge thing. I also want to acknowledge that we've also announced the support for the paid parent advocate model in November last year, and that's a part of the ongoing work too, and happy to report the discussions are already underway about that, and funding has been allocated, and that's a big part of this journey too. So this charter is the first of its kind in Queensland and puts in writing what parents that you're recognised and respected in your role. And we will continue to listen as we move forward to the rights of all those in the system. And I look forward to continuing the important work that we do together. And I hope that you have a positive Global Day of Parents, and it's my absolute honour to join with you today. So thank you, and well done you.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you for your insights and your understanding and your acknowledgement of all the work that's gone towards today. So as you've gathered, this morning launches the Charter of Rights for Parents in Queensland. And now we've heard the commitment from the Minister, which is wonderful. So in a moment, I'll go through a summary of the Charter. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through it in great detail. It won't be a big, heavy training session this morning. But this morning aims to celebrate this historic moment. This morning's about opening our minds up to how this Charter of Rights for Parents will help. And we hope this morning is also about being frank and fearless in our thinking, because there may be challenges in embedding the Charter. The Slido via the QR code or code 6347595 can take questions and comments that you may have at any time. There are 2 tabs at the top of the Slido screen. One of them's a Q&A tab, so you can input your questions if you have them, or perhaps respond to other people's. And there's a polls tab as well. The polls tab is where we're going to ask you questions. So please engage. We'd love to hear your feedback and your input and your questions. We may not have time to go through all the questions that are submitted today, but they will be collated and circulated in the coming days and weeks, and we'll inform you about what happens next. So please take part. So now let's put the rights up on the screen. I'll read through the 8 areas and then we'll dive into our discussion. So as a parent in Queensland, when I'm involved in a child protection matters, I have rights in all of these areas. 1, recognition and equality. 2, information and freedom of expression. 3, legal representation and a fair hearing. 4, protection of family. 5, support. 6, respect for culture generally. 7, respect for culture, Aboriginal peoples and Torres Strait Islander peoples. And 8, privacy, confidentiality and reputation. So after hearing the brief run through of the 8 areas of rights, let's take a poll. So the third question on Slido, and remember it is anonymous and your answers will go up on screen in real time, is please select from the list your top 3 feelings about the idea of implementing a Charter of Rights for Parents in Queensland. So you can select 3 words from the list and then press send. Let's see what comes up. So we've got lots of optimism, lots of hope in the room. That's a brilliant start. And we're going to ask the same question later on, once you've learnt more and heard more, to see if there's any other feelings that arise as well. So I'd like to now hand over to Leah. Leah, you've spoken at this event before. We've met a few times. As a parent committee member, what's going through your mind?
Is it on now? Thank you, Jo. As a parent who's been part of creating this charter for many years, I'm incredibly proud to be sitting here today with a hard copy finally in front of me. The journey to creating this has both been eye-opening, emotional and challenging, but I believe you'll find that the result will be incredibly rewarding. This charter is something both myself and so many others I know and support have needed and will need moving forward. With so many usually unobtainable high-ranking departmental and government staff showing a dedication, willingness and commitment to evolving an already challenging system, this charter gives us an opportunity to provoke change where it's most needed, starting with the CSOs and staff that everyday people deal with on the ground. With so many uncertainties surrounding the department's ability to, quote, switch off parents' rights in the past, as I pass to one of our other guests here today, the Queensland Human Rights Commissioner, Mr. Scott McDougall, I ask the question, how do you see this being both implemented and upheld?
Thank you very much, Leah, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to also acknowledge the traditional owners and aunties in the room and acknowledge the parents and also the departmental officers, both for your courage. Implementing this charter and making it work. So I was part of the campaign that advocated for the introduction of the Human Rights Act. The real reason why I personally was driven to participate in that campaign was decades of working for clients, representing clients who were unable to attain justice because their rights weren't being properly recognised. So that was what drove me, and I guess I've always been about access to justice. When the Act was introduced and I was put in this extraordinarily privileged position of being the Commissioner, one of the things that I was really very keen to do was to ensure that rights didn't just, particularly because they come essentially from the United Nations and can easily just be seen as this abstract international concept. So I wanted to take it out of the hands of academics and put it into the hands of people who look like my former clients and actually give them the ability to enjoy those rights. So as the Commissioner, that's what I've been trying to do. In the Act, it actually says the object of the Act is to build a human rights culture in Queensland. So how you take those rights that are referred to in this charter and actually implement them and make them meaningful for people on the ground who are actually having their rights not respected or protected. That is the great challenge for everyone. And I saw I think this is a great format, by the way, with the Slido. It's fabulous just to be able to read the room. So for the people who answered sceptical, I think you have every reason to be sceptical. And part of my job is not overselling the Human Rights Act, because there are some real limitations in terms of its enforceability. But I'm always in the hopeful. I pressed hopeful. And the fact is that the Human Rights Act actually is enforceable in some ways. So, but it's real, and I won't bore you with the detail of it, but what we do need is for the courts in Queensland and the lawyers in Queensland to step up to give the Human Rights Act some steel. When that happens, then charters like this, which I think are fantastic at actually translating something into practical reality, charters like this will be far stronger when the courts and the lawyers step in behind it. I guess the only other thing I would say is I formerly was a criminal lawyer. You probably know that if you commit a crime in Queensland, you will quite easily get legal representation. You'll have a lawyer with you throughout the process. In the child protection system, you can go through and it can be extremely difficult to get any representation, but particularly good representation, frankly. So that has got to change. And until that changes, rights really won't be real. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. Leah, thank you so much for your insights. And Scott, thank you for your feedback as well, that honesty about the challenges that we might face, but also that injection of hope as well. Thank you. Today we talked about having frank and fearless conversations, which is so important. So related to rights being rights, and whether our rights are dependent on things like our behaviour, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Now, we know that unfortunately some parents act when dealing with the department in a way that may not be acceptable, and there may be reasons for that. But I wonder, to the parent leaders who are here today, what's your response when you hear that parents spit on staff or threaten them? What does that mean for rights? Maddie, I'd like to ask you about that.
Well, when I hear about parents spitting on staff or threatening staff members in any way, I feel really disappointed. I wouldn't want that for anybody, regardless of what situation you're in. And quite frankly, everybody has the right to feel and to be safe in their workplace, and people are just trying to do a job. On the other hand, I understand that emotions are very heightened sometimes, and you know, you're dealing with people's families and children, and these are people's worlds and life. It's unacceptable. You can't justify assaulting somebody or spitting on a staff member, but I hope that this Charter of Rights will act as a tool to kind of bring departmental workers together on a more even playing field, more equitable playing field, so that parents have a clear understanding of what it is that their rights are, and they're less likely to act out against staff members. And we can just all work more cohesively to make futures better for all of the children.
Thanks, Maddie, and thank you for that empathy for everybody that's involved in this difficult situation. Every parent is clear. Our children are our world. Finn and the parent leaders are also clear when they do their advocacy work. It's not about me, it's about the children. So let's have another Slido together, because the best interest of the children is at the heart of the child protection legislation. So the next question is, how do you think a Charter of Rights for parents might help children? So in 2 or 3 words, please describe what the Parent Charter might offer children. You can share more than one answer if you'd like to. Wow, look at the words on the screen, and I think that certainly brings us back to the heart of why we're here today, which is children wanting security, safe way, pathways home, a better future, all of those key ingredients that we want for children. What amazing responses. So, and children belong in their families with their parents. So the next question is, in 2 or 3 words, please describe what the Parent Charter might offer parents. And again, you can provide more than one answer if you'd like to. So please, what do you think? All that positivity on the screen, equity, rights, confidence, clarity, all of those things that are so important for a parent to be able to do their job. So thank you very much for sharing your answers there. Now, we're in Queensland. We know it's a large, decentralised state, and we have people joining from Brisbane, from Townsville, from far and wide today. So we've got some other questions coming up, but I want to ask a question of Bobby Robertson, who's a parent advocate and president of FIN in Townsville. And then we're going to talk to Leanne Clark, who's the department's regional executive director for Sunshine Coast and Central Queensland. So Bobby, asking you first, what do you think the Charter of Rights will mean for people in the regions?
Okay, so FIN Townsville, while we work closely with South East Queensland, we also work in a very different way. FIN Townsville volunteer advocates offer individual support. We listen to parents' stories and we talk to child safety officers, and we also attend court. We also help write affidavits, and it's during these times that we see parents are guilty until they can prove the narrative is different, if they have the opportunity to do so. The Charter will allow parents in the regions to speak up more, to have their say, and to have their feelings normalised. In the regions, our support services are at capacity as there are fewer services available. This means parents don't receive the help that they need when they need it. This Charter will help parents get the support and get it in a reasonable time. Parents still care about their children and their well-being, but often get left in the dark because there is little emphasis on giving them information about their children in a timely manner. The Charter allows for parents to have their rights upheld to know about their children. The Charter gives Indigenous families the right to ensure their children are continuing to be connected to family, culture and country, which is their fundamental right as a human. Parents and children thrive on support, and this Charter ensures that along with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, parents also have the same dignity of rights afforded to them. The Charter is a step in the right direction to advance, preserve and protect the best interests of children in the context of family intervention.
Thank you, Bobby. And now, please, can we hear from Julianne?
Thanks for this opportunity. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're meeting on as well, and pay my respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the room. Just quickly, you know, when I started to think about it, I thought, oh, well, what does this provide for parents? And my consideration was, you know, it's a nice, clear sort of summary about what parents can expect, and it provides a language so that there can be a dialogue. And then for children, I think what it provides is it provides this better opportunity to get really great outcomes because there's a team approach. Because I think what it provides our staff with on the ground is this opportunity to really sort of turbocharge their work around partnering with parents and doing that much more effectively. So I see this as a tool, and I think in this sort of phase of its life, it's a fantastic change management opportunity for us to lead change around how our staff on the ground partner and engage with parents in in a sort of really clear sort of framework that talks and speaks to parents' rights. I suppose some of my considerations around that, and of thinking about Scott putting the call out to the lawyers, I mean, I reckon we don't even need to get to the lawyers. And I'm going to put the call out to the social workers and the psychologists and the cultural practice advisors and the CSSOs and our admin teams out there in the regions to basically, see this as a way of, turning the dial in a direction they want to, which is about family preservation primarily. And then if that's not possible, it's about really safe and strong connections with family. So, I think every region now will have this. They'll have it as a way to sort of engage with their staff and start unpacking how do we do this? How do you make this different? What tools and resources do we need to give to our staff so they can embed it in, what they would call their practice frameworks? Develop materials, I think, so that they are able to sort of easily go through with parents when they're engaging the charter and provide sort of a much, much better opportunity to partner effectively for the kids.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you for your lens from a regional perspective. And Julianne, there were some lovely phrases that my ears pricked up then. Partnering with parents, leading change, turning the dial, all the things that these steps will lead towards, which is amazing. So thank you. So to Laura now. You're a parent member of the Queensland Parents Advisory Committee, and you've been curious about workers and carers' response to the Charter, so I'd love to hear more about that.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm studying my second undergraduate degree in social work at the moment, so I'm in a position of being able to really look at both sides of the situation, both as a parent who still has some of their children in long-term care and also as an emerging child safety practitioner myself. Everyone here today, I imagine, is wondering how the Charter will affect them as well as the people that they work with. And there will be 2 Slido questions coming up on the screen that will ask for your thoughts on this in just a moment. We've heard a lot today about how this Charter will support and benefit parents. I just wanted to add to that and just really introduce and reinforce the concept that enforcing and upholding the rights of parents does not and will not diminish the rights of workers or carers. Nor is that the desire of any member of FIN or QPAC. And I feel confident to affirm that on behalf of all the parents here today. It's been my personal experience that children in care do better when all the stakeholders surrounding them are given a voice, are treated with equal and mutual respect, and are allowed to feel safe carrying out their particular role in that child's life. I think it can be argued that historically, parents of children in care have not been given equitable access to these entitlements. So what this Charter will do is allow for the parents to have greater support in having their rights upheld. But at the same time, there will be benefits for workers and carers as well. As an emerging practitioner, one thing I can really see as an advantage for department workers is that it will assist workers when making difficult decisions about the best way to move forward in specific situations, and also to defend decisions on which they may be challenged. The Charter will also shield workers and carers from frivolous complaints, as unless the complainant can refer to a specific breach, the department won't have an onus on them to allocate time and resources to investigating. And for carers, presuming that a good relationship exists between them and the parents, we as parents can use the Charter to advocate for their needs as well. In my personal situation, my daughter's carer and I have struggled with communication from the CSO and team leader, which means that my daughter has gone months without medication that was prescribed by her paediatrician, as neither myself nor her carer can legally consent. And so under the Charter, I'd be able to advocate for the carer to receive a timely response, which would then have the effect of better health outcomes for the child. Basically, the aim of this Charter is not to cause further division between parents, carers and workers, but ideally to cement the idea of collaboration and alliance in a formal way. Under the Charter, we all know what we need to prioritise in these situations where there are so many competing interests and demands on our time and resources. So with that being said, I'm going to hand back to Jo, and we can reflect on what you believe the Charter might offer workers and carers.
Thank you, Laura. And there's so many opportunities for everyone to benefit from the Charter. Thank you so much for those insights. So let's all reflect on that. And we've got another couple of questions on Slido, which are about workers and carers. There'll be 2 opportunities to list, but remember, we want your frank and fearless thinking. As Scott mentioned earlier, there will be challenges, so let's think about those. Please put those in 2 to 3 words. Please describe what the Parent Charter might offer workers. So some great benefits there: clarity, collaboration, guidance, some things that really help somebody do their job properly. In 2 or 3 words, please describe what a Parent Charter might offer carers as well. Some great commonalities in both of those answers: support, clarity, we've got cooperation, partnership, some really important roles, setting people up for success. So thank you for all that feedback. One of our calls to action today is to prompt more parents with lived experience of the system to join FIN and parent advocacy work. To encourage you, we've been showcasing the unique perspective and voice of parents with lived experience of the child protection system. And we hope you also see the strong, positive sense of community and sense of achievement experienced in this advocacy work. Please, if you're interested and you've not already had a chat to Finn, I encourage you to do so. Now we'll be putting the microphone on in front of as many parent committee members as possible. Because there's never as much time as we'd like, we're going to run a quick fire comment section. Parents, your question is, how might a Charter of Rights for Parents have benefited you? So over to our first speaker.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a beautifully broken-hearted mother, auntie and guardian. I was encouraged by many and am here today. I am strong enough to be here, sitting on my 2 feet here now with a voice, and a voice for many parents. To the decision makers here today, please, we are all individuals with a positive purpose and aren't all textbook material families. You really, really need to hear us each time we speak. Yes, whether it's 9 a.m. in the morning or 9 a.m. at night. We aren't just a rubber stamp made to fit neatly into a protocol or a model or to tick a box or whatever other new age title you wish to allocate it. No parent should ever experience the level of inconsistencies in reunifying with their children as I and many other parents have had experiences of. Hence, the support and signing of the Parent Charter is so important. And here we are, Global Day of Parents 2022, fantastic. Everyone, yes, everyone should be treated as equals. I believe the Charter is a great moving forward to equality and accountability. 6 important points to remind you all, wherever you are, whoever you are, wherever you come from. 1, you're always a voice for a child. 2, be accountable. 3, best not assume. 4, you're not alone or disadvantaged. 5, you can be stronger than ever before in the shadows as you do have a purpose. And 6, we are always here to offer positive solutions 24/7 for any child in care. The Parent Charter journey will continue to assist, continue to develop, even after our children, my children, are no longer involved in care, for the next generation and the one after. Hoping and praying that their lives will be a little more secure in the knowledge that this charter will help them understand what mission is ahead for themselves and their children with a little more clarity and confidence. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for those heartfelt and courageous words, and for those incredible 6 points as well. Thank you. And to our next speaker.
Hi. They said it would take a village to raise a child, yet I was not aware that I was going to be that whole village for my daughters. As a previous foster child myself, I have not only been mama, but I've been the dad who walked out. I've been the nana who was lost to addiction. I've been the granddad that didn't exist. I've been the estranged aunties, uncles and cousins for my kids. Please forgive me for a second because my phone died. Okay, so in 2019, a good parent will do the best with what they have to provide a safe and secure environment for their little ones, and if they can't, they will ask for support. In 2019, I asked Child Protective Services for support, realising that I didn't quite have the stamina left to be everyone that my girls needed. I asked for support with housing assistance, children's counselling and guidance while I tended my mental health. Within weeks of signing my IPA, I had become our social worker, my children's counsellors, our real estate agent, our mediator, our life coach, and our only productive support network. Suddenly, I did not have the whole village on my shoulders, but the whole world. And when I crumbled underneath it, they took my children away. They were removed. The experience of asking for support cost my family 2 years of our lives and so much more trauma than we began with. My family has been together again for the last 3 months. If you'd asked me then if I would encourage other strong mums and dads who are just fighting for their kids, whether to go and seek support from the services that you have offered, I would have had to hide my tears while I shook my head. Now, however, upon viewing the charter, I am so thankful for the comfort of being able to turn to other struggling parents and say, yes, it is okay to ask for support. It is available for you and your family's rights will be protected. There is hope. You are not alone. And in this village, you matter. Thank you all for your commitment, your dedication, passion, and the drive to make this happen, to support Australian families, and for taking the time to listen. This is progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's with these stories that we hear, we gain understanding, and it's with understanding we move towards positive change. So thank you. And next story, please.
Not only am I a mother to a beautiful boy, but I am also a mother that has unfortunately fallen victim to the system, still fighting for reunification. When asked, how might a Charter of Rights for Parents benefit me? I reflect on the last 2 years and think about how the Charter of Rights for Parents could have changed how the department treated me and how my case was handled. My circumstances were never about me not willing to be a protective parent. So it was a matter of not being able to in that moment. But surrendering my son did not render my worries, my fears, my love, or my fight to keep my child safe. Protection of my family gives me my voice back to stand up for what is not right without being scrutinised for the circumstances that surrounded my first engagement with the Department of Child, Youth Justice and Multicultural Affairs.
No, you're okay.
Thank you for being a part of a movement that's not only going to make changes within the system, but will see family units respected and protected, supported, informed, and reunited.
Heartfelt thank you to the parents of the advisory committee for speaking today, for being here and for making this change a reality. It takes great courage to tell your stories, and the common threads that come through in those stories are the incredible love you have for your children and the care and the support and the wanting the change to happen and that brighter future. Thank you. I now want to offer the microphone to the department to take Kate Connors, who's the Deputy Director General of Strategy with the Department of Children, Youth Justice and Multicultural Affairs. For anything you'd like to say about the Charter, Kate, we'd love to hear from you and how the department is committed to it.
Thank you very much. And I'll just also start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land we are on and paying my respects to elders who are here with us today and to elders past, present and emerging, and all the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are here with us today. And thank you so much for sharing those incredibly moving stories. And I know that takes a lot, to share what has happened in your life and your experiences of us in the department. I guess I just wanted to say this is a really significant day for us, and I think I speak for all my colleagues. When we saw our Director General's signature on the Charter, I think my heart went a bit like that, and I know for lots of our colleagues they did too, because this is an expression of our commitment to you and our commitment to our partnership with you and our commitment to change and to respect and implement the human rights of parents in the child protection system. And I think I really liked what Scott said, and our role in government is to bring the Human Rights Act to life. And the Charter really does that, and it does that in a way that I think really expresses what you should expect from us. I also really like that we have the complaints form in the back, and I know that will sound funny, but I say we really like that because we want to make it easy for parents to understand how to enforce their rights, and we see this as part of the role of holding us to account for how we bring the Charter to life. For us, the Charter, I think, too, is an expression of a new relationship. It is a living document, and it should be a living document. It will bind us together for this conversation for a very long time. There's a commitment in it. We will come back in a year. We'll see how people are finding it. Are they using it? Is it meaningful to parents? Is it helpful to them? And also for our staff as well. And then we have a chance to talk again. We will have this chance to have this ongoing relationship about how we collectively bring it to life. I think, I just also really want to thank and acknowledge the parents and QPAC and Finn. It has been a privilege for all of us to work with you on this. It's been a long journey, but I think, it was only a couple of months ago and we had a forum together, and I thought, I don't think we're far apart on this. I think we can bring this together. I think we have more in, now sitting down, I think we have more in common than perhaps we thought, and we needed to find a collective language to bring that to life for both of us. So I wanted to thank the parents for their grace and your generosity and your, at times perhaps your patience with us as well. I think it has been a really terrific process for all of us together. So, I just wanted to take the chance to express our commitment to this and our ongoing commitment to this as a vehicle for dialogue and our partnership and walking together. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Kate. And that's some amazing things to hear. The fact that we're all in this room today or online at the start of this new chapter, and to hear that it is the beginning of an evolution as things will grow and develop over time. So thank you. Maddie, I think you've got some comments to make as well.
When do I not have comments to make? Gammon. I would really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, like to acknowledge and pay my respects to each and every parent who has contributed to this. We have had countless conversations, and you have been so vulnerable to open up and to pour your lives out, to talk about the deepest, darkest moments of your life and what could have helped you, so that we at Finn and working with the department would be able to develop this Charter of Rights to help you, to help your families, and to help your children. So thank you so much. It's very honourable what you've done. I'd also like to touch on the fact that it's Reconciliation Week, and it's been 25 years since the Bringing Them Home report was released. And as I was falling asleep last night, really, really excited for today, one thing that popped into my mind was Auntie here grew up under the Act on missions, and has gone through her life, and just, I guess, how much you would have seen from then to now. And today we have a Charter of Rights that, you know, can be used to uphold cultural rights and to make sure that children can stay connected to language and family and country, and just how monumental that is. And I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. Auntie said that, you know, we've both all morning kind of been like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe it. It's real. I hope that it will make a significant difference for mob in southeast Queensland and all over the state up to the Torres Strait. I think it's vital. Definitely, if, you know, we can help out mob, then our Jarjums can be safe and loved and protected within their homes and on their country. You know, giving parents a seat at the table. I've said it for years, and I think I'll continue to say it until the day I die. Parents are stakeholders, and they need to be included in the conversation, and this acts as a conduit for that. I'd like to really thank the department for coming to the table with this one. You guys, we couldn't have done it, obviously, without you. You're the one. This charter is under you, but just for putting trust, I guess, and taking that time, building the relationship, getting to know the parents at each QPAC meeting, and never giving up on us. And Sandra, an OG, love your guts. I do. I honour everything that you've all done, and I think it speaks volumes to Reconciliation Week theme. Be brave and make change, and that's what we've done here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maddie.
I'd like to acknowledge everybody. Thank you, Minister, Karen, everybody. Really thank every one of you. We got this far, lived experiences, all the mixed emotions. Charter of Rights, I'm honoured to be a parent to sit here today and look at this, how far I come to. I had a lot of anger against the department. The name angered me. From then, back then to now, I just blown away too. It's a privilege. Thank you very much, everybody in this room. Thanks.
Thank you, Maddie, and thank you, Auntie. And I know from the conversation we had before the session today how important today is, that it is a fresh start, but also acknowledging what's happened before. So thank you very much. So now that everyone's heard a little bit more about the Charter, I'm interested to know what you're thinking now that you know more about what's involved and what it means to people. So what I'd like to do is retake one of our earlier polls just to see if people's thoughts and feelings have changed. So if you can pop back onto Slido and select your top 3 feelings about the idea of implementing the Charter of Rights for Parents in Queensland from the words on the list. And then we can do a bit of a comparison to what we looked at earlier. Wow. So when we asked you earlier, hopeful was number 1, optimistic was number 2, excited was number 3, and sceptical was behind it. And I can see that that hope and optimism and excitement is still there. There's still a little bit of scepticism, but we can see that people are really on board with this and excited about the possibilities and the changes that this charter will lead to. So I think today is an incredible day, and I'm so glad that we're here to celebrate it on the Global Day of Parents. As we start to wrap things up, I'd like to ask some of the members of the Queensland Parents Advisory Committee, those on table 1, and parents and allies from the department to sign the charter. So maybe Maddie and Auntie and Laura, Sandra and Tracy, if you'd like to start signing, we've got 2 copies, one's for QPAC and one's for the department. And as the charter begins to be signed, everybody in the room, or whether you're online, all of those of you using Slido, it would be great to see your comments and your commitment popped into the Q&A section so we can really gauge how people are feeling and get your feedback. So again, those of you in the room that won't get a chance to sign the charter to begin with, please stick around and sign it. We'd love you to do so. And add your comments onto the Q&A, as I said. Thank you, guys. Well, sadly, we've come to the end of our time together today, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us and thank all the speakers. There's an evaluation form on Slido, and we want these events to be the best they can possibly be, so please complete the evaluation form, and we'll send it out again in our thank yous for coming today. It will stay open for a few days. I'd also like to invite Karen Walsh up. We're going to say a few thank yous. So I'd like again to acknowledge and thank the Minister for Children and Youth Justice and Minister for Multicultural Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've also heard some fantastic speakers from the department that are joining us as well. So I'd like to thank her department for supporting and funding this initiative. And I acknowledge Justine Sandy Roma. I don't think she's here anymore, but what an amazing welcome to country. So thank you very much, Justine. And I congratulate, most importantly, the parents on this achievement. What an amazing day. Know how heartfelt everybody's commitment to this is, and look at the difference that you're making. So thank you so much. Okay.
I just want to acknowledge the work behind the scenes, that the flowers are for the parents to take and any of our partners, the roses, but we have just got a few that we want to give for the additional work that has taken to really organise all the extra meetings, the toing and froing, the extra stuff that goes on. So Maddie had the role of being the parent advocate in coordinating so much of the behind the scenes comment, and thank you for your leadership and for keeping everyone honest, and you know, it's just going to keep going, so thank you. Jenny for the team. Jenny, thanks you and the team for your amazing attention to detail, thinking all the time about process and the end date, which had everyone panicked, but it's really good having a global day of parents. We didn't have to make it up, it just was the obvious date. So just thanks for so much that you and the team did. Joe, where's Joe? Joe, for your continued facilitation. Thanks for keeping on coming here and doing these events with us. It's great because Jo has her own lived experience and has been working tirelessly in the domestic violence sector. So, and I've got to remember who else. Oh, Kate, if this is for you and Deidre, and you know all the department, but please take a flower for the departmental staff. As Maddie so eloquently said, I don't need to say it again, and so many people are just so appreciative that you've taken this course with us, because there have been plenty of times when it wasn't taken. So for who you are as individuals and, you know, all that work that went on behind the scenes, Tracy, Sandra, Amanda, Julianne and others that have probably contributed that, you know, aren't here. We just really thank you for taking this piece of work, and a Royal Commission didn't recommend it. So it's really, really good that we've achieved something without a Royal Commission. So, and Scott, we just want to thank you for being the inaugural Human Rights Commissioner that gave us the opportunity to say we want a culture of human rights, and we know how long that took to get as well. So thanks for having the time to be with us when you do. Your staff have also contributed to a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So we just wanted to acknowledge that. So thank you. Department staff and the parents.
I thought it would be amazing and very symbolic to have the signed charter and the department on one side of that charter and some of our parents on the other. That would be really lovely. And I also wanted to, while I've got the microphone, acknowledge someone that I didn't, and it's really important because acknowledgements matter. Sandra, when I thanked Amanda and Julianne and Kate, I neglected to and had meant to acknowledge you, and it matters because I get advice all the time, and as I said, the department's well and true, and all of the team here in the room at the table. The whole time I came into the room in these meetings, I could see how at the table you were, and proud to herald a new chapter. So thank you, Sandra. I apologise I didn't honour you first, and I honour you now, and your team.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Karen said all the thank yous. Thank you to Karen as well for drive, bravery, leadership, all the things that you bring, Karen. Thank you. So it's a real honour to be here today, all of us in the room celebrating something that's been decades in the meeting. So thank you to everybody here who's been a part of it, either in the preparation and making it happen, or here today to acknowledge all the work. So thank you again. Happy Global Day of Parents' Day to everybody in the room, whether you're a parent or not. For those of us that are here physically today, please join us for a lunch afterwards. There's going to be some photographs as well. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day, and congratulations to everyone that made this happen. Thank you.